Hello everyone. I'm going to go without the microphone, so give me a shout at the back if it's not loud enough, but it'll just give me a little bit more freedom to put people first. So having heard all of the great stuff that we've just heard, I'm really wanting each and every one of you to be thinking about you first now. The people who have heard all of these messages, who within their lives as people who are ambitious, are really thinking about, okay, so what for me and so what for my performance based upon everything that I've heard this morning. At PlanetK2, we are constantly focusing on helping people understand human performance, and increasingly we are putting that emphasis onto the human in the human performance. Everything that you've heard this morning is really important for you to start thinking about, okay, the game is changing. Maybe the picture of success is changing. Maybe some of the indicators of success are changing. But what does that mean for me as an ambitious person who's already got a great track record, who is now looking forward to thinking about how do I perform and maintain my standards of excellence in what looks like an ever-changing and ever-to-be-changing field of play. So I'm going to talk to you about why I think for each and every one of you personally and for your organizations, performance needs to be your number one obsession. Granted, the information that I'm going to share with you comes primarily from the laboratory of Olympic sport, where I spent 22 years looking at the psychology of helping individuals move bits of carbon fiber backwards as quickly as possible over 2,000 meters of open water. And all of those people being far too bright to have just that as their main pursuit. But what you do learn from that environment is that the performer's relationship with all of the data, all of the measurement, is a critical part of them challenging themselves to find out how good they can be, how well they can perform, and whether they'll be able to disrupt that data to ultimately deliver the success that they want, which is an Olympic gold. The performance focus is absolutely critical, and increasingly we know that in the commercial world, everyone is becoming more and more obsessed with the performance of the people who are at the heart of the existing and ongoing success. So it's fantastic standing in here where we can oversee St Pancras Station. So as the management team from Eurostar were working towards making the move from Waterloo to St Pancras, we had the pleasure of working with them to focus on how do you take a performance-obsessed approach to delivering that kind of unrivaled moment that matters, where you switch off an international travel hub one day and you switch it on to be working out of another one the next day. That's a massive performance moment, but the obsession with performance and helping everyone get ready to step up throughout the build-up and then beyond that start line of making the transition, huge amounts learned for us in the corporate space, as well as having had the opportunity to work with the guys at RocketMill and talk to them about how does some of this performance obsession come to life in their world. And you can see from the documentation here about how actually putting people first has a performance obsession at the heart of it, in terms of, are we helping be ready? Are we helping people feel ready to contribute to our chosen world of excellence? So are you obsessed with performance, your own performance? Each and every one of you, as someone who has got challenges on a day-to-day basis, I'd like you to think about, I'm a person first, but I'm also a performer, and that performance every day is a critical part of how I value myself and how I see myself as a person. Our careers are a critical part of how we see ourselves. So as people, if we're performance obsessed, we can make sure that a significant part of our waking life and the stuff that's important to us is really delivering a good story in our mind that is helping us get a sense that we're getting ever better, we're feeling in control, we can cope, but also the other people around us are on a supportive mission to help us deliver our own personal best as regularly as possible. It's really important that through the messages that you've seen today and thinking about the takeaways that you're going to have, what is the difference here between performance and measurement? We've seen a huge amount about measurement. And it's fascinating for me, whenever I've worked in the commercial world over the last 16, 17 years or so, people confuse performance and measurement. Even the phrase key performance indicator is usually just anything that can be measured. It's not actually a performance indicator in any way, shape or form, because it's not used in the way that elite athletes use a key performance indicator, which is That's the gold medal that I want. Here are some measures of excellence that I know a gold medal athlete will have, and this is currently how well I'm stacking up against that specific indicator. I am going to try and meet that indicator or change the bar for that indicator today based upon the feedback that I get. I'm going to disrupt that data. I'm not going to be a fascinated observer of a dashboard. Oh, that one's changed. What do I do about it? I'm thinking, this is what I'm going to do today. Here's the choices I'm going to make. I'm going to see if I can change what that indicator feeds back to me. And I will learn something about how I disrupt the data. I'm not waiting to see how I did. It's like a football team, the world of business. They wait to watch the video of the match to see if they've won. Come on, you're going out there on the field of play every day to get the best result that you can by focusing on your own choices, your game plan, and connecting everything together. So performance and measurement are very different things. And for your takeaway today, I'd like you to join with me in my belief that performance is doing the things that you need to do to get the results that you want. So that consumer experience version of performance, that's a measure of success. But what are the things that I need to do to be brilliant at that helps the customer, the consumer, end up having the right perceptions, the right feelings, the right emotions? I can have an impact upon that. But performance is doing the things that you need to do to get the results that you want or need. So therefore, we're thinking about inputs and outputs, choices versus measurement and indicators of success. And it's really interesting because if you start to look at cultures that are purely obsessed with results alone, and they have meetings that are focused on what's the scoreboard saying, and everyone becomes expert in understanding what the scoreboard says and being able to describe the scoreboard and then explain why the scoreboard doesn't say what it should do. Everyone becomes experts in forecast variance explanation. What a bloody marvelous thing to be good at, yeah? So instead of that, where we've got a results alone obsessed culture, you end up with people who play safe, there's slow decision making, and unhelpful fear of failure. For those of you who have a fear of failure in the right environment, it's a very, very helpful thing. In the wrong one, focused on results alone, it tends to cripple people. But if we change the game, we can start getting people to be focused on both performance and results. But let's shift the obsession a bit more towards performance because we've done the results obsession for long enough. We can start getting into a different situation where we're not leading people by asking them what the score is and when they're going to hit the target. You imagine Jurgen Klopp on the sideline shouting at the players to say, look, we're supposed to win 3-0 today. No one's scored yet. Who's going to get me a goal? If we score before half-time, we know that sales in the sales and everywhere else goes up. So can we get a goal before half-time because the commercial department need us to score? You know, it's an absurdity. They practice playing the game and go out there and try and put the game into practice as well as possible. So we want to move to a situation where you as a performer, based upon everything that you've heard today, everything that you know already, can start to become obsessed with performance. You've seen today about the rules of the game are changing. Perhaps some of the measures of success are changing. So what does that mean about how you might want to change your readiness to perform in that environment? Coaches and athletes work with very simple approaches to getting performance ready on a day-to-day basis. If I know what the ultimate success is, I know what my performance indicators are, what are the things that I need to get ever better at every single day that will help me be ready to perform? I will get ready to perform by getting excellent in terms of the skills and knowledge that I possess. That helps me be confident that I know my field of play and I've got the skill to execute what's required. I will get ever better at performing if I become tactically smarter. I've got more ways in which I can use my skill and knowledge to meet different demands. Different return on investment measures. Actually, what tactics do I need if we're trying to make a different experience and deliver something for people in a slightly different way? I develop my tactical readiness. Physically, my energy levels are critical. How much energy have I got? And have I got the readiness physically to do the things that I need to do that will help me use my skill and knowledge and tactical nous brilliantly? Mindset-wise, have I tuned into the attitude that is going to be most helpful to keep me curious about finding out how well I can play today? Have I done the mental preparation to think through different scenarios and feel that I'm going to be ready to respond whatever's going on? Do I understand what makes me tick personality-wise? Emotionally, have I got a support team around me who's there ready to help, who's there to help me feel more ready to perform? Think about Wimbledon, the players' support box. Who's in there? They're not doing anything helpful on that day other than emotionally supporting, and it's a combination of the people who matter most to the players. It's their friends and family, their partners, but it's their coach, their strength and conditioning expert, their physio. There's a whole number of people in there who provide support to say, we've helped you get to this point and we're supporting you to be ready today. Who's your equivalent of that player's support box? And that's a key thing that we know where people get a real difference from that as well. And lastly, the contextual readiness. How ready do you feel to do the things that you need to do to get the results that you want because of the environment that you turn up in every day? The equipment, the ergonomics, the lighting, the environment, how much does that help you be ready to perform, as well as the mood of the people that you engage with? If you want to become performance obsessed, you start thinking about, right, how ready am I and what choices can I make today to be as ready as possible? And when we start making those choices individually and collectively to be as ready as possible, we start to get that beautiful phrase that British cycling made popular a few years ago, the aggregation of marginal gains across all individuals. But you have to remember, in the first place, aggregation of marginal gains is useless unless you realise you've earned the right to be at this level of performance in the first place. There's some fundamental things that you're superb at that means you can start looking to do those small things that make a consistent difference and build on your undoubted foundation of brilliance. But because you know you're in the pursuit of delivering targets and successes that aren't easy to come by, you celebrate the foundation of performance that's already in place, but you're humble about the way in which you might want to develop yourself because you're curious to see if I'm still good enough with the changing rules of the game. So that confidence and humility in balance are really, really important. Probably the best Olympic athletes I know have had that balance of they are incredibly confident, and it's very difficult to shake their confidence, but they're incredibly humble about whether they're going to remain good enough. So they do the work to stay ready, but they do that work on the basis of a belief that I know I've done it in the past. And that is a really powerful combination, mindset-wise, from a performance point of view to have. So if you start changing to an obsession with performance, if the people around you start becoming more obsessed with performance and doing the things that you need to do to get the results that you want, what's in it for you? Well, there's some really interesting things that change psychologically in terms of you as a person and how you feel about your performance, but also how that starts to add up from an organisational point of view. When you get this performance obsession, you start to get a really fascinating culture of motivation and challenge. And if anyone can do that, I'd like to see it. You get this motivation and challenge balance within your organisation. We're having regular conversations to support ourselves and each other to be ready to do the things that we need to do that'll help us get the results that we want. That's all aligned around a shared mission and a shared purpose. What happens then? Each time we have a conversation about feeling more ready and more prepared and building on our foundation of success and delivering the collective goals, we become more connected to a shared purpose. We also feel more in control of the choices that we're making, and we're feeling we've got the autonomy to use our readiness to the best of our ability. And we're doing that from a position of confidence of knowing that we've earned the right, but we're confident that we're the right people to be making the next step as well. It is impossible not to have high quality motivation when you feel in control, highly confident, and highly connected. Think about times when your motivation has disappeared. You've probably felt very out of control with little choice, doubted your capability or capacity, or had been given reason to do that, and you'll have felt isolated. The performance obsession changes the game in terms of motivation. It also means that from spreading an epidemic of readiness, there's some fascinating research from performance psychology that shows that when we get into a certain mindset, our physiology changes and other people pick up on us in a different way because of those changes. In a similar way, when we're feeling in control, confident, but we've got a curiosity about success, that's when we get into a challenge mindset. We're curious about, I wonder what I can learn about my performance capacity with the current challenge that I've got. I wonder how I'm going to take this unique opportunity to see if we can deliver this success to further myself or test the strength out. When that happens, we step into pressure moments. Heart rate goes up, but the cardiovascular system opens up and the blood flow is able to be put around the body much more efficiently. We step into a challenge mindset. Physiology changes, hormones changes, people pick up on that around us. That is contrasted with an environment that is obsessed with results and just looking at the scoreboard and everyone being able to describe it. I'm probably feeling out of control, confidence is compromised, and I'm focused on things that I have to do, must do, and ought to do. And when that happens, I step into pressure moments, heart rate goes up, cardiovascular system goes, I don't like this, everything tightens up, and your body is trying to pump blood around a physiological system that is now no longer more efficient. Short bursts of that, not great, but putting people first, long bursts of that really compromises your overall health. So in terms of changing the game from a motivation and a challenge perspective, this performance obsession allows you to start thinking about taking care of yourself, taking care of each other, because the quest for high performance is an unreasonable place. So we have to do the stuff that allows people to be looking after themselves, to go on these journeys to find out whether you can achieve unreasonable things together. So I think this performance obsession piece really does look after you. It puts the person first. It puts the human into human performance, but it absolutely allows you to keep stepping on and keep moving forward and stay curious about what your potential might be. But really importantly, it means that you start to get into that space like the athletes are, where you're thinking about what's the scoreboard or what's the performance indicator. I'm going to be performing to the best of my capacity because I think the numbers are going to say this. I'm going to get into cause and effect relationship with the scoreboard rather than reacting to the scoreboard. And that is really important. Where you control the scoreboard, it's not controlling you. If Roger Federer is trying to play tennis there by looking at what's the score and what do I need to do next, not concentrating on the execution of the exquisite skill under pressure, under physiological stress that needs to take place. They're playing in the moment by trusting the skill and the performance readiness that has been put in place year after year after year. And if you think about the performance readiness and the obsession with performance through the lens of Roger Federer, he practices serving a tennis ball very, very regularly, even though it is the most fundamental technical skill of a tennis player. He updates his practice to be thinking about the next opponent because the tactical ability to feel ready to play the next game on the surface that I'm in is a critical differentiator. His physical capacity is looked after. His mindset is attuned. He's got his support team around him, and he's making the most of any environment that he's having to practice in. The skill of being performance obsessed and getting ready in the right way for the next opportunity to find out how good you can be is where you've moved from the science to the art of being obsessed with performance in the right way. So some food for thought for you today. There's the big pictures of success goals that everyone is trying to achieve, but if we can change our obsession to our ability to be ready to perform, it will allow you to celebrate the quality of performance that is already in place, but it'll allow you to stay curious about how much better can I be and how can I use the stimulus of this challenging environment that I perform in to learn something new about myself and keep developing so I'm relevant and totally fit for purpose. So thank you very much for your attention. Enjoy the opportunity to have the further drinks, and it sounds like happy birthday to RocketMill as well is going to be a very worthwhile thing. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak, Sam, as well. Thank you.